Welcome to another Legacy Warriors podcast where we cover the top two feeder promotions to the UFC, whether it is Cage Warriors, which is often across the pond, or like this weekend, the Legacy Fighting Alliance, as they put on their 215th event, which goes down in Ventura, California, and is headlined by two title fights. In the main event, we got the lightweight title on the line as Miranda looks to successfully defend his title for the first time against Barzilay. And then in the co-main event, we got the flyweight champion Eduardo Henrique looking to bounce back after fumbling the bag on the Ultimate Fighter this past season as he takes on the oncoming Lozej. Decent card all around. I believe there's only 9 fights. There were a few dropouts earlier in the week, but solid card all around to provide some good betting opportunities and some entertainment. Also, this will obviously serve as an appetizer if you want to pull an all-nighter, as the UFC Shanghai card kicks off at 3 a.m. Eastern time. It's 1 a.m. actually where I'm at, but 3 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to catch that after LFA, you're able to do that as well. Just quickly, obviously, as you guys can tell, no video this week. Unfortunately, I'm having some issues with my webcam, and the fights kick off in about 6 or 5 hours. So I want to get this out for you guys ASAP, so I'm just not even going to bother fiddling with the webcam. I'm just going to do it audio and then put up some graphics for you guys as well. All right. 9 fights to break down for you guys here. I already have a lock of the night play, a dog of the night play, a few tracked plays all on the MMA, LOT, and Patreon page. So if you guys want to check that out, check the link in the description below for my confident plays and tracked plays. That's where you'll also be able to find my UFC Shanghai action, which is all on there as well. So make sure you guys check that out. And yeah, I'll be back on Sunday to drop a Contender Series breakdown for you guys. And there's no UFC event next week, so it'll be an off week for you, boy. I might drop a video just for kicks, but for the most part, it's just a Contender Series and then taking a time to catch my breath with all the work I've been doing as of late. All right. I'm rambling too much. You guys want to get into the breakdowns? Let's get into the breakdowns. First matchup up, Natalia Speece coming in at plus 300, going up against Mariana Piccolo, who comes in at minus 400. Now, I believe Speece missed this weight class, or missed weight by about 3 or 4 pounds. I believe it was a 130-pound catch weight, and she still missed weight for it. Decent striker. Came up short in her LFA debut back in April, where she got a solid first round, but in the second round was submitted by Lizzie Gevers, who just obviously lost on the most recent LFA card as well. Piccolo, BJJ brown belt. She's pretty much grown up on the BJJ maps with her dad being a BJJ black belt as well. She's kind of struggling through her MMA career. She had a 3-5 winning streak snapped last time around by a 2-3 opponent, but that 2-3 opponent was definitely better than the record indicated. She was a better striker than Piccolo, and she was able to stop the grappling of Piccolo and batter her on the feet. I think this is a matchup for Piccolo to get back onto the winning track. I believe she'll have the better grappling game. I think she won't have too much trouble in terms of mixing the striking with getting this to the ground. Speece might have some success in the striking realm. Maybe she's a little bit more physical, so she might be able to provide some resistance here with the grappling. All in all, I'm still going to go with Piccolo, but I can't trust her at minus 400. Considering some of the striking and physicality advantages that Speece might enjoy here. All right, next up we got Helena coming in at plus 180, going up against Repp, who comes in at minus 210. Love has come in on Repp over the last 24 to 48 hours, as she was closer to about minus 150 yesterday. Now she finds herself at minus 210, and for good reason. She is coming from a kickboxing background, but has clearly rounded out her grappling game well enough. She came up short against an eventual title challenger last time around against Veronica Borisova. Close-ish fight, but it seemed like the grappling of Borisova got her the win there. Trading out of Factory X, Repp is definitely rounding out her game as best as she can, and I think she has a decent enough opponent here to really take advantage of the green and raw MMA game of Helena. Helena comes from a kickboxing background, but she only has 2 pro MMA fights. The first one was against a complete tomato can, who she finished in 90 seconds. And then the last one, she actually had up against a 3-0 opponent. She was having big success in the striking realm and nearly found the finish until she ended up getting dragged into a grappling scenario and ended up tapping out to a guillotine. I believe it was a standing guillotine as well, showcasing some of the the greenness and amateur ways of Helena in the grappling realm here, which I think that Repp will take full advantage of. Again, Repp comes from a kickboxing background, so I think she can be competitive there. But once this fight ends up hitting the mat, I think Repp will make short work of Helena and end up getting the win here. So I don't mind her at this minus 210 line either. Our next up, we got Raul Navarrette coming in at plus 180, going up against Roman Puga, who comes in at minus 210. Now, both these guys had some extended layoffs in their career. Between his first and second pro fight, Navarrette had a gap of about 6 years without MMA action. But he's returned to 2 straight victories now, most recently getting that victory over Xavier Vines, I believe the guy's name was, at the ending of the first round under the Cage Warriors banner. That was back in December. He got rocked a few times, but he was able to survive a few submission attempts as well from Vines, and then eventually get to his own BJJ and get the tap in the dying seconds of round 1. He seems to be a crafty BJJ specialist with some decent striking, but he is quite hittable, and I think a guy like Puga can definitely take advantage of that. Now, Puga is now 2-0 since taking 5.5 years away from action, and that was after his Bellator debut where he lost by doctor stoppage after the second round. The majority of that fight, he was playing off his back, trying to utilize his BJJ. Well, now it's a purple belt. I'm not sure what it was back then. But in while playing guard, he was eating some big shots, and one of them actually caused a cut in his eye, like not around his eye, but like actually on his eye. And I believe that's the reason he's been out of competition for as long as he was before returning. But since returning, the guy's delivered on back-to-back knockout victories, very solid striker, good combinations, good power, and a very aggressive BJJ game. And I believe he's going to be able to use the BJJ defensively here to really touch Navarrette up on the feet. And I think he'll be able to produce a knockout within 2 rounds. At minus 200, it's not a bad spot, but I still think these guys are trying to find their comfort zone since returning from their layoffs, so I'm going to have a little less confidence in it, but I still think Puga ends up picking up the knockout victory. All right. Next up, we got Arnold Jimenez coming in at plus 260, going up against Rafael do Nascimento. This fight was scheduled to take place maybe a month or so ago. I believe it was do Nascimento who had fallen ill. I could be wrong on that. But same odds, minus 310, plus 260 on Jimenez. I think I think do Nascimento is the much more dangerous fighter here, and I think that he might be able to counter the striking success that Jimenez might find. But I think do Nascimento, once he starts to pick up steam, he'll be hard to get away from, and I think he'll be able to muster up way more damage than Jimenez. He'll be able to touch him up, may lead to a finish, but not a whole lot of confidence there. But again, Jimenez might be the technically better striker, so he might be able to find some good shots of his own, but I think do Nascimento's aggression and power will end up paying off, and that will lead to him getting the finish. All right, next up, we got Michael Reyes coming in at plus 240, going up against Adrian Garcia, who comes in at minus 280. Now, Garcia's coming off of his first LFA main event where he came up short against undefeated phenom Fumi Unkuta. Prior to that, he had his LFA debut where he finished his, I believe he finished his opponent, but pulled off an upset that night, showcasing that he is a very slick striker who throws in great combinations. His defensive grappling is definitely improving at a steady rate, but it's all about controlling the pace, controlling the range, and letting go with his output and volume. Reyes, mediocre all around, let's be honest. His record obviously indicates that. He's riding a 2-fight winning streak right now, but it seems like he's often able to implement his pace and style against some of these lower level guys, and that's why he ends up winning a lot of these fights, because guys just don't showcase enough resistance, and his aggression allows him to start dictating the pace and getting the better of those guys. But Garcia is not going to allow that. Garcia is clearly the better striker, the slicker striker, and I think that will open up plenty of finishing opportunities for Garcia. Although he doesn't have many knockouts on his record, I believe he only has 2 of his 8 wins by knockout. I think Reyes leaves enough openings in the striking realm that Garcia can take advantage of it and find a knockout here. But I think this minus 280 line is a big steal. I don't think highly of Reyes at all, and I think Garcia is quite underrated. All right, next up, we got Chris Mecate coming in at -105, going up against Eric Visconde, who comes in at -150. Now, this fight was supposed to take place on the same card as the previously mentioned Rafael dos Nascimentos and Arnold Jimenez fight, but I believe it was an illness to Mecate that knocked him out of that fight. Mecate looking for a 6th victory in a row. Had a very hard-fought victory over Javier Reyes in a main event slot earlier this year. Utilizes a lot of wrestling, a lot of top control, but it's clear that his striking is starting to improve, and it obviously helps when he's training alongside guys like Cub Swanson, Daddy Silva, and Richie Miranda, who made events this card in a championship fight. Eric Visconde, on the other hand, has been kind of tough to call for me, as I've been wrong in both of his last 2 appearances. In the first of those 2 appearances, he shut down a tough 15-4-1 favorite who was coming in at -200. He utilized a ton of forward movement and big strikes, even threw in a couple of submission attempts. And then he followed that up in January with a nasty spinning back kick elbow knockout over veteran Ari Farias, who is a very high-level BJJ black belt, but was unable to get to many spots to find big success. Visconde is a tough out, but I think he's going to kind of struggle here with the wrestling of Mecate. But Mecate needs to be very safe in the striking round because Visconde can throw with a ton of heat and power. I think Mecate can kind of stifle that with some of his striking, having a little bit more confidence there, and then mixing in his grappling and really wearing Visconde down. And I think we end up seeing Mecate win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Shuya Kamikubo coming in at -125, going up against former UFC fighter Eric Shelton, who comes in at +105. Now, there's been a ton of love coming in on Shelton, as he was closer to about +140 just yesterday, and people are starting to see where he could have success. Now, he went 2-4 when he was in the UFC before getting released by the promotion back in 2019. I believe outside of the Jordan Espinoza loss, he was coming up against some very tough competition and coming up on the short end of the stick, even losing split decisions to current champion or eventual champion at the time, Alexandre Pantoja, and very tough wrestler Jared Brooks. But Shelton, very solid grappler as well, has a very educated striking game and has a ton of experience fighting all levels of competition. But what's really impressive is his run since 2023. He's 5-0 with wins over very good competition. The first came against 12-1 Dwight Joseph, who just picked up a big flying knee knockout victory over on PFL Africa. Then he got an easy win over Tisha Gutro, who was at the time Canada's #1 flyweight. Then he knocked out Abdul Kamara last June, or June of last year, I should say, who just won the Fury FC title this past weekend. He then knocked out Jarrell Hodge, who recently fought for an LFA title. And then lastly, he submitted an 11-3 prospect. I believe Alan Olivas was the guy's name. And he, all of those fights were pretty much championship fights for guys that eventually became champions like Kamara. So he's still fighting at a high level at 34 years old against these young up-and-comers. And I think this is a very winnable matchup for him against Shuya Kamikubo, who is strictly a wrestler. There's not much threat that Kamikubo really presents in the striking realm, and that's where you often see him get touched up and hurt by most of his opponents. And Shelton will surely be able to take advantage of that with his speed advantage and with good enough defensive grappling to keep Kamikubo away from dominant positions. Look for Shelton to show good enough defensive grappling to land his damage, outwork Kamikubo, and then win this fight on the scorecards by, obviously by decision. All right, the first of 2 title fights for this LFA card, the first of which comes in the flyweight division as Eduardo Chapelin comes in at -265, going up against Devin Lozej, who comes in at +225. Now, Chapelin was actually the first pick on the past season of The Ultimate Fighter by Team Cormier, and then he got defeated by the first pick by Team Sunid, Joseph Morales, who just won the entire show this past weekend when he was able to defeat Alibi Idris. Henrique had some good success with his striking early, but Morales mixed his striking well enough to eventually open up a takedown, and from there he was able to work to the back of Henrique and find the finish. But Henrique is normally a guy that showcases good grappling defense and then is able to really dictate the pace in the striking realm by putting nasty and emphatic combinations on his opponents, looking for ways to put them away but is also comfortable going 15 or 25 minutes utilizing that same approach. The performance he had against Cody Davis to win the title was very impressive, considering how good Davis has been with wrestling and controlling opponents. Henrique shut that down completely and eventually put him away in the 4th round. Now, Devin Lozej is going to be looking to utilize a similar approach to what Joseph Morales did, mainly because Lozej trains out of the same gym, Team Alpha Male, as Joseph Morales. Now, Lozej actually started off his MMA career up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, but then moved to Team Alpha Male to try to expand his training. He's obviously a very good wrestler, good top control, good cardio, good pace. His striking is slowly starting to come along, but I think last time around when he knocked his opponent out, it was more so that his opponent really didn't have much striking to throw in response. In this matchup, Lozej is really going to have to get to the wrestling and mix up his striking well enough. But I think he's going to get touched up on the feet early and often. And I think Henrique will be able to stop the takedowns. And I think a lot of time will be eaten off the clock as Lozej is looking for takedowns up against the cage. But Henrique will be landing more damage and clearly showing that he should be winning each of these rounds. And I think he eventually wins this fight on the scorecards. I would not completely count out Henrique getting a finish, but I think this is going to be a very tough matchup for Lozej to have much success of his own. All right, that brings us to the lightweight title headliner here as champion Richie Miranda comes in at minus 205 going up against the oncoming Barzilay, who comes in at plus 175. Now, Miranda pulled off the upset as a plus 750 underdog last time around against Richie Lewis in a somewhat competitive matchup, but it seemed like at least it seemed like Lewis was going to go on to win a decision. Miranda was able to turn on the burners in that 5th round and get Lewis out of there as Lewis was sucking wind pretty badly. Miranda is normally the one that utilizes his wrestling to thwart opponents on the ground and really smash them from that top position, but he's slowly improving the striking game as well, just as we saw against Lewis last time. He's a solid fighter, training along the bloodline guys like Danny Silva, the aforementioned Chris Mecate, Cub Swanson. I believe Juan Archuleta used to train out of that gym too, or may still train out of that gym. And he's improving at a steady rate. He's obviously on a 5-fight winning streak, building off that split decision loss he had against Keegan Agnew. And he's becoming, a UFC level guy slowly but surely. But he's going up against a tough Barzilay, who's undefeated as well, 6-0, 4-0 with the LFA. Last time around in the LFA, picking up a big win against Cole Laren. That was a tough matchup as Cole is very aggressive and Barzilay was able to shut him down with his striking and grappling. And then in April, Barzilay went down to Mexico and actually competed in the UWC promotion and finished a 4-0 opponent in about 65 seconds. Grappling is his bread and butter. He does a great job in terms of taking opponents down and controlling them, but his striking is coming along very well, and that's obviously paying off for him in recent fights. Something to take into consideration as well. He used to train mainly out of Syndicate and Extreme Couture alongside Natan Levy out there in Vegas. But for this camp and for the past 3 months, he's entrenched himself amongst the killers down there at the Fighting Nerds team. And he's done a great job in terms of getting their support and really pushing himself to another level. So to see him at plus 175 here was very surprising to me when I first started researching this matchup, because I think Barzilay is the better striker. I think he could have better cardio. I think his grappling will be good enough to thwart whatever Miranda throws at him. And I think Barzilay will be the one landing more damage throughout this matchup. So I'm more than happy to take a shot on him at underdogs odds here. Maybe there's something that I'm missing about Miranda, but I think Barzilay is waiting for an opportunity to show out like this, and this is the opportunity for him to do so and win LFA gold while doing it. So I'm going to go Barzilay. Maybe grinds this one out over 5 rounds, wins it on the scorecards, and you, LFA lightweight champion, Barzilay. There you guys go. Full LFA 215 breakdown. Again, apologies for no videos. Hopefully I can get my webcam up and running again for the Sunday Contender Series breakdown. Otherwise, make sure you guys check out the Lock of the Night Patreon page for all the good stuff. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe as well. We smashed my goal of hitting 9,000 subscribers ASAP, but it's really 10,000 subscribers I want to get to, but we skyrocketed through that 9,000 mark. We're almost at 9100 now, so I really appreciate everybody hitting that subscribe. If you haven't already, please do. My goal is to at worst, hit 10,000 subscribers by the ending of the year. But even better, I would love to hit it before the Contender Series wraps up in mid-October. So please do your part. I would very much appreciate it. Just hit that subscribe on this YouTube page and help me, knock off one of the milestones on my YouTube journey here. All right. Good luck on all your action this weekend, folks. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Actually, later today, I'll be dropping the prop drop for UFC Shanghai. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Contender Series breakdowns. See you guys then. Peace.